So once you have majority of things that you want traced, you can go ahead and start to clean up any pencil marks that you might not want. You may want to take a larger pencil eraser to do that, or a pinky eraser. And that way your drawing will look clean. Alright, so the next step is to start to color it. So a couple things I wanted to show you about coloring. So when I color, I will generally start to put down a base color first. So I will take my colored pencil, make sure it's somewhat sharp, and that way you can control a little better. So I'm going to sharpen that. Now if you have a longer tip to your Sharpie, you can angle it. Now as you see, I'm holding my pencil a little bit higher up. The reason for that is I will have a lighter pressure if I'm not grabbing it so far down. So what I'm going to do is just to kind of gently start to lay down a really light layer of color. Now normally you've been probably taught to color in one direction, but sometimes when I color with colored pencils, I will often almost go in circles, just try to get everything filled in. And you want to get rid of any pencil marks that you don't want before you color, because once you put the colored pencil down on top of it, you're not going to be able to erase it because it's going to be covered up. Now I did not trace all the parts of my lip just because I didn't like how this one was quite as pronounced, so I'm going to use color to kind of push that forward. So just kind of give everything a really light base coat. I'm just going to do part of the face. Now you may want to pull up your picture that you took of yourself on your Chromebook to help you see some of the shadows and darker areas you have in your face. So for instance, like underneath your upper eyebrows and the socket of your eye, you might notice that some parts are darker, or on the side of your nose. If you want things to pop out, you want to keep it brighter, like your nose is brighter than your face because it comes out further. So I'm just going to press a little bit harder to make things look like they're receding or a little more shadowed. It's going to be darker underneath your nose. And that's where you can start to really kind of make things look three-dimensional by how you color it. Now, when I color with colored pencils, I will often use multiple shades of color. So our faces are all different types of browns. So if your face is a little darker, you might not have very much peach at all, or you might have just a light tan. So I'm going to add a little bit of a lighter brown on top of it, just to kind of help start to bring the values forward. You can already start to see it's become a little more three-dimensional and having everything flat. I did not draw eyebrows or eyelashes yet on this one because the Sharpie is going to bleed a little bit, and I didn't want to have all my smaller details kind of become a blob. Once it's Sharpied, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot more. Now, another general rule I do is I make the edges a little bit darker than the middle part, which again kind of provides a little more three-dimensionality. So you can always go back over with your skin tone color, your base color, to try to get a little smoother. Now for darker areas, you might, if you have darker shades, you might even make it a little bit darker by overlapping a little bit more with a darker shade. I'll put this into a speed lapse in a little bit so you can see the completed thing. For your eyes, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So generally the top part of your eyes are darker than your bottom because your upper eyelid provides a shadow over it. So I'm just going to start with my lighter shade. My eyes are brown. So I'm just going to kind of give it again a light shade of one value. Now I can make the top part darker by pressing a little harder. Started getting that kind of cool transitional shading, a gradient. And I can press harder with a secondary color. Now you do want to be very, very careful with not using black. Black can quickly make your colors dull, so black would be something I would put on at the very end if I want to really push something forward or back. I'll put a tiny bit of shade. I'm not pressing hard, just real gentle on the top. The whites of the eyes, if you are comfortable, you can lightly shade it in. Sometimes I will just take a little bit of a black or a gray and just as lightly as I can. Just put a little bit of shading. That might even be good to use your pencil for, because then you can erase it a little bit easier. One other technique or tip that I have is to just use a piece of scrap paper. So if you're not really sure how the colors are going to look, it's not a bad idea to practice and just see what the colors will look like if you press really hard, or if you kind of go out lighter. And that's going to kind of give you an idea what it might look like. Or what happens if you overlap the colors. So you can kind of see what your colors look like before you put it on your final drawing. Alright, so I have the one eye done. Lips. Sometimes I will put down a base color of skin tone first, because I don't want my lips to be super red like I put lipstick on, but our lips are a little bit more reddish. Now after I have the skin tone down, the top lip is generally a little bit darker than the bottom lip. The bottom lip sticks out a little bit more, so it tends to catch a little bit more light. And you want to use your mirror as well to kind of help so you can see what you actually look like. Now your lips might not be one solid shade of one color. So you might have like a red violet. This is kind of a reddish brown color, just for your deeper value. So color pencils, it's a lot of overlapping, a lot of layering to get the color that you want. And I may end up coming back to outline it or Sharpie a little bit. So for hair color, you want to look at the picture or that you took of yourself and use a variety of different shades. It doesn't look like, when you look at your hair, it doesn't look like you jumped into a paint can. You have lots of different shades, different values of whatever color it happens to be. So if your hair is brown, you might have yellows and browns and blacks maybe. Maybe if your hair is blonde, you have yellows and browns. So try to pay attention to what your hair colors are and what you see in your hair, so you get a variety of different colors. So it's not just one solid color. So it already looks a little more interesting having more than one color. So I'm going to put this into speed lapse. So at this point, I have the face and the mask colored on both of them. As you notice, I was pressing harder in some areas, doing some blending and some shading to kind of make things look more three-dimensional. I would also like to see that you're blending different colors as well. So the next step is to start to add color to your letters. So what you can do, you can color them how you want. You can make some areas thicker, or then you can make colors change from one to another. So that is up to you how you would like to do that. If you want to outline them first, that might make them show up better. You can color around them. So that part is up to you. Once I got done with my letters, I did add like a shirt to the background. So if you wanted to add part of a shoulders or colors coming around, that's fine. Now for the back, we're going to do kind of like a starburst effect. So think of yourself like the center. You are the most amazing person. So we're going to have different colors radiating out. So what I did to do that first, I'm just going to pick a series of 2 or 3 neighboring colors. So imagine you're coming out from your center. I'm just going to kind of make a couple lines. You can use the paper to help you out. And you want to probably have your letters done first, so that way you aren't accidentally going on top of them. So I'm just being really light as I plan this out. And then I might take my color, and I'm just going to start to color it in. Now as it gets further away, I'm going to make it a little bit wider. So it's kind of like a triangle. You can press harder if you'd like a more vibrant, bright color. Don't be afraid to really get in there and make your colors bright. You can also overlap your colors just like before. So if I wanted a yellow or green, I could either take another shade, or you can overlap it. You get more. It's going to look a little more interesting if you are blending colors. Now for my second color, I'm going to probably use a blue, I think. Stick with cool colors. And just kind of start to make a little bit wider, further away. Just kind of fitting that in between. I am starting out light, just so I'm not, you can always make it darker. And it also does help if your color pencils are sharp, so you can see that my colors aren't going down super smooth because my pencils need to be sharpened. All right, so I'm going to do one more time lapse so you can see me finish up the background. All right, so at this point I only have 3 words on here, but I have the background colored in on both sides. I could have brought my letters up higher up into here if I wanted to, but just to finish it off so I don't have a ton of white space here, I'm just going to give myself some shoulders coming off. I'm just going to kind of gently color it. I'm just going to pick, let's see, a different color. And let's go with the light blue so my letters don't get covered up. Get my collar here and then just kind of a little darker along the edge. I'll just kind of gently color in a little bit so I don't have just a floating head on here. And one thing you do want to double check is that you have your name and your class written on the back. I would not use a Sharpie because the Sharpie can soak through your paper and then you'd ruin the front part. So just make sure you use a pencil. So you can see how the Sharpie soaks through. So I'm going to write my name and then my class. All right, so here is our changing portrait project. Once you are complete, make sure you upload it to Artsonia. Keep up the great work, guys. Have a great rest of your day.